go into the PSAs and the corniness of, the family sitcoms and all of that, they always come off as very judgmental. Like one of them is the classic PSA drug commercial where he's just like, this is your brain on drugs. You don't want to be a loser, like that kind of stuff. So it just constantly feels like whether they're in the community, kind of in this they're misunderstood or going through violence, and then they go to the entertainment and the screens that they're constantly watching, and it's either just war or negative judgment of their lifestyle. And then you cut to one of the first characters that you get, and he just kind of wakes up in the morning. He comes off as a very like a teenager, it almost seems like, and one of the first things that he does is listen to punk rock and open up a beer. So it's just kind of like, this constant need to, it feels, escape a little bit and create your own. Oh yeah,
all
community.
The kids just like roaming the graffiti covered neighborhoods of Florida, and the way that it's been cut together with this footage and with this punk music into this very hypnotic, kind of like these like shock splice edits that he throws in. It feels like the movie is almost trying to brainwash you at parts, or it's like showing you're like, oh my God, what the fuck am I watching?
Because they're doing, they have like, they're just skating. It's like, you'll see a board slide, and then all of a sudden you'll see nukes being dropped, and then you'll see a shove it, and then you'll see someone get shot in the face. Like, it's just these constant images of these kids trying to almost create their own freedom and their own community, and then the constant reminder of what's going on around them, kind of thing.
Yeah, but then it's like, then it has that classic kind of run and gun street authenticity shooting style that we talk about with someone like Larry Cohen, the way he shoots, New York City, the way that he just guerrilla runs around and captures things. But here it's for Florida and for these various dingy apartments and like beer soaked house parties. And like, these are the kind of places that these skater kids are hanging out, and the early goings do generate this bizarre world. Like, I think about that scene of the kids in the karate outfits just eating a burger and talking about violence for like a minute.
Yeah, or staying zen.
One of the other guys, who is the guy who wakes up and watches TV, who I believe is actually a young Pinion, but he looks kind of different than he looks like in the other movies. And he wasn't on the cast list on Letterboxd, but I'm like,
it looks exactly
99% sure that it's Pinion. So
yeah, that's what I said too. I'm like, that looks exactly like Pinion. I think they even at one point name his character Charles, which is interesting.
It is, Charles, which is like, 100%. Yeah, it's just, a lot of the characters are playing themselves. Even the main kid, Paul, is played by a guy named Paul, and but he's so you're moving between like this kind of, these sort of dingy locales and the kind of energy these people are trying to fill it with, and then the psychedelic kind of brainwashing that's going around and making these characters kind of hysterical. And I mean, one of the first things we see Pinion do is chop up some Brussels sprouts with garden shears and then get into a domestic violence dispute over it, where his wife is like, I hate sprouts. And he's like, what? Say that one more time, as he just fucking like slices her head open and makes out with her blood-soaked corpse. And like, these are the kinds of scenes that you are going to get as he is just like watching TV in his neon lit house, going insane, and watching the anti-drug PSAs or watching the Afghanistan sort of news reports and watching all of these various things.
And again, he makes the audience just so a part of it, because I'm pretty sure when, she says like, I hate sprouts, he looks at her, but then he does this cut and he looks directly at the camera and he's just like, what? and again, it's so close to the camera. So it's even got this ugly distortion to it, because you already have the home video quality of it. But then you just have a very, it doesn't, it's an unattractive close up. We'll call it that. And leading into the making out with the bloody mouth and everything. But I love that he makes you a part of it initially. He makes you uncomfortable for a moment,
and then goes right back to the TV as well, which is so funny that he's just like, well, that's that. And then they introduces this whole thing about a TV like afterlife or netherworld that we'll talk about that starts occurring at one point, because a good portion of what happens for this character for the rest of the movie is he just sits around watching TV, and like that one guy freaking out. There's some good TV segments. I do like that one guy who's like, skateboarding in our city has to go. Go get some proper haircuts for God's sakes. And then there's another weird show. One of the weirder shows is just where one guy goes up to another guy and they're like walking in the distance, and he goes, you know what? There might be a God. Yeah. Everything is just so beautiful, which is obviously very funny contrast to what we are about to watch. And there's also one broadcast that I never figured out. I've watched this movie multiple times. I've still never figured out exactly what's going on in the one broadcast of the guy just looking into the camera and going, say yes. Say yes.
Yeah, I didn't know about that one either. But the one where it was the PSA for the skateboarders and the haircuts was just hilarious, because the guy is selling it so hard, like he's just yelling it, and he also has this look of him that they just kind of put a blazer on him. He almost has a haircut of a skater, so it's funny when he's doing the like cut your hair, he's already kind of got a mop. It just adds to the humor of it, and how aggressive he is and how much he's screaming it is so funny. And that he pops up like 4 times with 4 different PSAs, and I loved every single one. He was my favorite, I think.
Yeah. So there's that's one section of the movie where there is this weird TV brainwashing segment that's kind of happening with Charles Pinion, and then the other section is that's kind of cross-cutting with this is images of kind of driving around Florida at night, smoking, most of it lit by this very funny like flashlight waving technique that he does, which I just found weirdly off-putting, even though I could easily tell how he was doing it. And getting involved with the actual house